You, the Messiah. No offense, Perdre, but that has got to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Why not me?
Have you met yourself? Perdre, you drink, you fight, you like to break people's arms just to hear the sounds they make.
Howdy, pilgrims, and thanks for tuning in to Season 4 of Preacher vs. Preacher. It's a comparison companion all the way to the end. I swear, we're going to keep doing it. Where each week we get together and we recap AMC's series Preacher. We directly compare it to the comic it's based on from the 90s by Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon. Who are we? I'm Bill Sweeney. You might know me from the Wicked Theory podcast. I'm joined this week by my good friend. How do I introduce this person? Let's just say professional, extraordinaire, freelance writer for EW.com, professor of some kind of something or other, journalist. I don't have the platitude list in front of me. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Sarah Netzley is joining us this week. Thank you, Sarah.
Hey, glad to be here. The more you struggled with that, the more nervous I got. What can I say about this piece of human excrement?
Oh my God.
Joining us, like I didn't know where you were. Hey everybody, thanks Bill for having me on.
Well, just to point out like how and why I fumbled so hard on that is like, as I was talking, I was like, oh right, I was going to pull up her Twitter and just read her Twitter description. Except for maybe the man-ogler part, because that was a thing I created. But anyway, that's besides the point. Sarah, thank you for joining me this week. This whole Preacher thing is actually the thing that kicked off our friendship, kind of in a way, if I remember correctly.
It is our meet cute, yes. I was recapping Preacher. I was recapping Preacher for EW.com. You were recapping Preacher on Preacher versus Preacher. We found each other through the magic of, I don't know, like Twitter algorithms.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact, like, who...
I was thinking about that. Like, what was the exchange? What was the magic that, I don't know, man. But it was season 1, right? It was.
Yeah. I mean, it had to be. It had to be in season 1 because, and I can't imagine that I reached out to you or even replied to a tweet. I mean, maybe. It'd be funny. You know what? You know who could solve that mystery for us? Agent Palmer. Agent Palmer. If you're listening to this one,
we need you to do some internet detective work.
We finally have producer work for you on this show.
Detective.
So, big thanks to him if he looks that up, if he finds that. But otherwise, I'll thank him for something else down the line. That's what he does. He's a helpful guy. So anyway, So Sarah Netzley, you can find Sarah Netzley on Twitter at Sarah Netzley, SARANETZLEY.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, damn, I wish it was a test. I would have gotten a grade. But you can find me at Wicked Theory. You can find this show at Preach vs. Preach. You can send us an email at pvp@Wicked Theory. But time's running out, folks, because this show, much like the show that we cover, is coming to an end. It's wrapping up. We're getting towards the end here.
So will you retire the Twitter handle, or will you keep it live in case Preacher-related things break in the future?
In case in 10 years some other crazy person decides to do a new version.
Oh, I have thoughts about that. Like, do an actual version based on the comic? What?
What?
Yeah.
Crazy. And, this show would be so different, the one we're watching, from a version that kind of just stuck to the books, that it would almost be two very different shows, for sure. You could probably get away with it.
Well, and I was also thinking, I mean, you've got, the after Watchmen, unauthorized Watchmen continuations. Does someday somebody do Preacher 2.0?
Or do you do
4 minutes to midnight?
Or do you do when 90s nostalgia is it riding high right now? I don't know.
I think it is.
But now we're creeping into it, right? But anyway, if there was a real resurgence for 90s nostalgia or something, and you want to do it in the 90s when the book took place, and kind of cover it that way, maybe. But I don't know. I some of the stuff in the book, even still to this day, is a little dated, and like I have said in the past, like I get why the show chose certain areas that needed work. I always kind of agreed with that. but the way that they chose to work them,
There are some decisions that I have not. There are some I understood and some I really didn't understand and continue to not understand. And for those who don't know, I also host with Little Eddie O'Hare, the DC TV Report, where we cover Preacher every week.
That's right.
And this is the season I've struggled with the most on Preacher. I'm not enjoying the season the way I thought I would. All the run up was it's going to be closer to the comics and it's going to be a little more. And I am struggling with the things they're choosing to do, the sort of aimlessness and the. So
yeah, I felt like this week too. There was I wouldn't call it padding, but it's just not feeling like there's no
urgency.
Yes,
there's no urgency.
Yes, we are definitely, which is crazy because they have big pieces on their chessboard, and as they're showing us even this week. But again, the urgency doesn't feel like it's really there. It's not palpable like you would kind of expect it to be in other shows. I don't know what that disconnect is. I don't know if that's just jaded me because as I say this, I'm trying to keep it as a separate from the book thing. I'm trying to, the show for its own merits. I don't mean it in contrast to the book, because the book at times ramped up its urgency, then would dip down and then come back. But this for a TV show doesn't feel like it's like we're really heading towards the end. It feels like, this is just another season ticking along almost.
It's like, I don't know. I kind of feel like they got notice in early seasons for some of the gonzo, surprising, shocking, wild things. And so that's just what they leaned into in this last season. And they like those killer set pieces and things that make you say, a claymation dinosaur and fine, cool. Yeah, I like the absurd stuff too, but you've got to pair it with forward momentum toward, so.
I feel like, and actually, whereas almost every episode would have one of those kinds of standout set pieces, not every episode's got that this season. So that's a thing that I think, as much as it is popping up, it's not there like it used to be. Every episode would, or almost every episode would have at least one or maybe two kind of, they would have some over the top fight scene. And we did get a couple earlier on, but I don't know, right now it feels like maybe because it's we have to just spend so much time kind of putting pieces in places and physically moving people around so they're in where we want them by the end, that some of that stuff is kind of not considered maybe. It's just we don't have time, we don't have a way for them to do some crazy action sequence this week. So anything that really does happen is going to happen off camera. I'm like, all right, fair. I don't need to see Cassidy eat chickens all the time, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All right, I'm going to forewarn you here. I'll let the listeners know. I might run into an issue with my computer. I'm just saying. I don't know how this is going to go. We're going to wing it. So let's get into it now before something happens. Because I had a thing pop up just now, and it's like, oh, man, again? Okay, so let's see. All right, folks. So this is it. This is your spoiler warning. We are going to get into the book and the show. We're going to recap the show. Sometimes we talk about the book as we go. So hope you've read it. Hope you're okay with that. This is going to be this is a bell over here. That bell is whenever we kind of find something that's new for us, that's directly from the book. And then that's it. And that's it, really. And then I'm going to set this gong, that little gongy gong, and that means we're into it now. Okay? This episode is episode 7. Six. Thank you. I'm bad with math. And it's called Messiahs. So this one starts out with Tulip and Cassidy. This real quick scene, no dialogue, of them just burying Jesse. Which is,
that was hard to watch.
Brief but hard to watch, and it's not how it goes in the book for sure, but that's fine.
Wait, fact check, episode 7. I just checked. We were wrong.
Damn it! Already out of the gate.
No, math is hard.
Oh, counting. And then Santa Killers was actually watching them at a distance. He turns away real quick. Who knows? Left to his own devices, we don't see him again. He probably doesn't know what his mission is now, I would presume, but that's a real quick scene. And then we cut to Jesse at some little pond with a young girl. At first, I think we're supposed to kind of think maybe is like a young tulip or something. We're supposed to get that vibe from her anyway. But Fior walks up. Our old friend Fior. Hey,
good to see Fior. My notes actually are, hey, it's Fior or that other one. And then Jesse says Fior, and I was like, all right, thanks. Fior.
I did the same thing with Ed last week when we watched the preview. I'm like, I forget which one is which all the time.
And the funny thing is, one of them's been dead since, I mean, they both are, but one of them has been off the show for a while. Yeah. And I still can't keep it straight.
That's true. That's true. So he walks up, and Jesse's like, well, am I dead? And he's like, yeah. But, there's a war coming. It's heaven versus hell. And Jesus, my notes. Jesus just, doesn't have that killer instinct, according to Fior. God is gone, and he wants Jesse to take the throne. Which is an interesting offer, but Jesse's really not feeling it. We'll get back to it in a minute, but yeah, Jesse's not going to be feeling that very much, as we might expect. But we then jump to Tulip and Cassidy, and the clock kind of rolls back a little bit. We see them land the plane. They're back in the car, and it's like dead quiet. They've just buried Jesse. And it's real morbid. They don't really say anything. They pull over. She reads the letter. I don't know if she finishes it or not. But it's a very sad letter, obviously. And
I thought nice work on Ruth Nega's part. The silent tear as she read it. That was some good... Tulip is not always a quiet character, but those were some nice quiet moments. And then she beat the shit out of a church.
Now I want to see a little bit more of that, like her just punching it from outside before she went in. But yeah, they're outside a small church, and she heads inside. Cassidy actually goes and rings the bell of the house right near there, and a very nice gentleman answers the door. He's by himself, and he's like, "What are you guys at a petrol?" And he's like, "Yeah, basically, And so he lets him in, and. Cassidy's come to eat the chickens. is basically the thing, which is nice, I guess. It's at least he's not eating the guy, I guess.
Yeah, I was worried for the guy. I was worried for the guy.
And in the end, we don't really see how it goes down. So we just eventually he gets back in the car when we get to it, and he's just bloody. So it's like, who knows? just who knows. But we didn't really need a montage fight scene of him versus the chickens, as funny as that could have been.
I would have enjoyed that, actually.
Because in my head, I'm kind of picturing like that Rocky training scene where he's just chasing the chickens around. But Cassidy wants to fucking eat them. You know what I mean? So it's more fervent, and there's a different kind of look on his face. As opposed to Rocky just going like, ooh. Anyway. We go back to Tulip. She's beating up the church, like you said. And then, now she's sitting down frustrated. And, she's like, nothing, talking to God, basically. Like, I get nothing. Like, this gets nothing out of you. She burns the letter.
That was hard. That was hard to watch.
And should be like a momentous kind of moment, you know what I mean? But it's a real quick shot, just to burn the letter. And then back in the car, Cassidy's all bloody. And, Cassidy looks at her and says, I guess he wasn't home? Like the door she was knocking on? And she's like
that Cass is trying to make the best of a bad situation. Hey, so...
Well, that's always his way, Yep. Even in the books, he's just always got the sarcastic take on anything and is willing to break the ice. Most of the time, he's the one who does that. She says, no, he wasn't there, but I know how to get him. And then we cut to... the Grail back at Mossad. There's a Lazarus coffee shop, their version of the little mini Starbucks, with a interesting barista who is going through a hormone treatment of some kind or something.
I will be honest, Ed had to explain to me who that was last week because I that was a good enough disguise. I was like, I know we're supposed to know who that is, and it didn't occur to me that, of course, it's the master of disguise.
Yeah, well, he explained it to me, too. We were watching it together, and
thank goodness
and
for Ed.
when I first saw it, you see her real quick the first time, and I'm like, oh, that's definitely somebody in makeup. I'm like, who is it? And he's like, it's Featherstone. And I'm like, all right. Like, he's like,
don't be smug.
He's like, Pshaw. Like, really kind of made me feel stupid, but, he was right, though. I mean, when I did kind of see it was her, I was like, yeah, that's definitely her. But this,
I had that realization when we were recording the podcast. So, oh yeah, it was Featherstone, right? He was nicer to me about it. Sounds like
you guys were on air, and you are a lady.
And I couldn't see him, so there may have been nonverbals there because we don't,
Yeah, there was some eye rolling, probably.
I'm sure.
I'm sure of it. That guy.
Gesticulating.
So she makes some coffees. Turns out to be the coffees for Jesus and Hitler, and we then cut real quick to Star, just in the desert crawl chasing a dingo that has a blurred out dingus. Now let me tell you something. Obviously, they put like a large dildo in the dog's mouth and just blurred it out, because otherwise, I feel like, although we can't really see it, are we supposed to imply that Airstar was that gifted? Like he was that blessed, as they say in the pants? I guess. He
does exude some big dick energy. So, I mean, that would explain some things.
He does have a lot of confidence. He does have the swimmer's build. He does have some indicators of potential. I'm just gonna side on the. I'm just going to go with the production side and say, well, look, if it was small or average, and then we blurred it out, you probably wouldn't be able to really tell what it was. It was go big or go home.
I think it was just the way of showing us that this is an immense loss. If
we didn't use the bell for other things on this show, you would have gotten a bell for that. I'm looking at my soundboard, and all I have is the buzzer, and that's for wrong. So I'm not doing that. Okay, let's get back into it. So after the dingo dong scene, we come back from a commercial with a little bit of like a morning show. It's Morning in America, which just feels nice and middle America, KPXY and I don't even know.
San Antonio.
Sacramento. But, so it's like a 3-person group. And, the first two are talking. What's great is that, like, I thought the other guy was supposed to be a guest, but I guess he's actually, like, part of the group. But he's just dressed in a suit, and the other two are, like, just cash. They're dressed for 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, I don't have a job. I'm staying home and having coffee with you. Kind of lifestyle, and the other guy's like ready to file a case against somebody or something. But that guy's all bent out of shape a little bit. And the idea is that I lost track of. I think I was so enamored by the ticker going by on the bottom of the screen and trying to catch all the jokes in that. I kind of forgot.
No, did I miss jokes on the ticker? Usually I'm the ¡1 ticker joke watcher. I'm disappointed in myself.
Listen, well, here's what you need to know from that. The Tom Cruise Memorial has hit another snag. They are still trying to have a Tom Cruise Memorial in this world.
My favorite callback.
When I saw Tom Cruise, I kind of got distracted. And I forgot to write down. Oh, that's right. That guy was talking about the fact of how like this warhead's gone off, and no one's talking about how this is going to trigger, World War III, basically. This 25 kiloton warhead and this war between New Zealand and Australia. But hey, if anything, I don't think it's a big deal because from looking at our characters, there was 0 radiation involved in that warhead. Nobody, except for a couple of blisters on Cassidy, is really suffering.
I actually kind of feel bad for the bomb. Like, you didn't... You were so... there was so much potential there, and you did know... I mean, like, that was your I don't know.
Well, as we all know, bombs are filled with nothing but potential.
I just finished Chernobyl recently, so I'm a little sensitive on the issue of radiation.
Chernobyl was great. Chernobyl was something else.
So good, but it was so awful.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the thing, right? It's just a sidetrack on that for a second. That's the balance on that show, is that it's just, it's probably 98% how it happened, and how it happened was fucking terrible. Just nothing but misery.
It was one of those shows that I knew I had to watch, but I didn't want to watch.
Yeah.
But the guy who's playing Yorick in the Y the Last Man adaptation is in it. So I also had a professional curiosity.
Who is he? Is he the young guy with the
I'm going to give you
with the dog stuff?
With the dog stuff.
Yeah, okay.
He's the one with the dog stuff.
He's the kid who had the hard time. He's like the main kid in that sequence.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the dogs. Yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to be neutral in my brain. I'm just like acting chops. Yes, he had some.
Yeah.
Dog shit was fucking fucked up. I'm trying not to think about that.
Oh yeah. No, it was. My husband had walked out of the room for that part, and when he started coming back in, I was like, "Just stay out. Just stay out. Just do not come in here right now. It's better for both of us."
One of us has to take the hit, and I'm already here.
I will carry this burden for the household.
Where's the cat? Get the cat. The cat shouldn't even see this. All right. Anyway, so from that quick sequence, we go to, which not for nothing, the whole is cute. The whole morning show thing is cute, but really just not necessary.
Why is it in episode 7 of the last season? We have all these other things.
These cute little asides are great. You know what I mean, in and of themselves, but
they were great in season 2. But
it doesn't do anything for the story. It literally doesn't. It tells you, if anything, okay, the world is aware that it happened, but do we need to know that because of something else that's going to happen? No, it's just
unless it is long game setting something up for episode 8 or episode 9. But I don't know that's
Oh, the U.S. cavalry gets involved finally. The U.S. Armed Forces finally figures out there's a giant military that dresses all in red and white. We should probably do something about it. Okay. Then again, the Grail, they have it all under control. So we go back to Jesse and Fior, and he's like, sit, try out the chair, see how it feels. Basically, he's like, somebody has to do it. Why not you, Jesse? You seem like a good guy. And Jesse's like, I'm not a good guy. I've robbed, I've stolen, I've killed people. Some of them deserved it. I'm like, well, yeah. He starts talking about the bank teller that he shot one time who probably really didn't. So I jumped around a little bit. He touches the throne, and then he gets this quick flash.
Can we call this his Galadriel moment?
Sure.
All will worship me in despair.
Is that what the whole quote thing? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, well, from the Lord of the Rings, when Galadriel touches the ring and she's all just like, "I will be a dark and terrible." I'm sorry. Did I just get too nerdy for you?
You just you turned over a draw 4 on the nerd cards. We're going to combine stuff. You got me with an Uno draw 4. I thought
this was a safe space to bring up Tolkien.
Oh, you can.
And Peter Jackson.
You can. It doesn't mean I'll get the references all the time. When you said that, I thought you might have mush-mouthed the word gladiatorial. And I was like, is that a word? And I'm going to say, yes, it's a word. She's an English major. She has a fucking degree. Don't question her. And I learned that there's a character named, what was it?
Galadriel.
Galadriel.
She's queen of, somebody help me out. Queen of the
she's a queen.
She would be a dark and terrible queen. But Jesse, she says what Jesse said. I don't know how better to explain it, but it has this moment of I would do this and it would be bad for all of us. So courteously, I abstain.
I like the phrase "a dark and terrible queen."
Oh, it's wonderful. It's a
wonderful title to have.
It's Kate Blanchett. It's great.
Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about now. Well, I've seen the movies, but look, some of the names just kind of never stuck with me. Because I never really read the books as much as I kind of tried when I was younger. I didn't stick.
Same. I actually.
Yeah. Okay. And so your geek card is not that great either.
I wasn't saying it was. I was just surprised that you were anyway.
Fair enough.
So we're with Jesse.
Jesse's like, I'm not sitting down. He says no. And Fiona's like, no, I get it. It would be a big lifestyle change. And yeah, I think being God would be a big lifestyle change. It's kind of Jesse's retort. He's like, yeah, I think so. But we jump to Williamsburg, Brooklyn, by way of a freight container, because that's what we do now. We just show a quick shot of a freight container, and that's the implication of how this is how they get around Tulip and Cassidy. 'Cause that's fast travel now, like in a video game. That's just, we don't explain it. We don't say how many days it took. We don't worry about any of that. They just kind of take they ship the car for 18 days across the ocean.
Don't ask any questions. Don't think about it too much.
No, but we've got Danny. Who did we meet already? I think
no. I was so distracted by how much she looked like Julia Roberts that I feel like if we had seen her before, I would have remembered her.
Well, she is Tulip's friend from the book, right?
No, okay. Tulip's friend from the book is Amy, right? Or is there a different friend? I wasn't sure if this was a Belle or not. Because there's Amy, who she rams the car through the wall. We're talking book here.
Right.
To rescue Amy and to, bash up some would-be rapists, which, get it, girl. But I don't know that was
I'm trying to,
based on that same character. Was there I don't remember Tulip having a ton of other friends, but I may have imprinted on the Amy story like a baby duck.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember if they had... when the girl with the eye patch, she was from Cassidy's past, right? Yeah, right. That was a different thing. But she looks like Amy. She's got the... Yeah, I'm not going to go crazy, but I was flipping through the two graphic novels that are closest to me just to see if I could find something. I could not. I'm going to give a bell just in case and say, she's... We're going to move past it. That's what we're going to do.
If it is Amy, I'm sad because that is not the relationship. Well, and it's not the relation. I don't think Tulip and Amy ever came to blows in the comic that I recall. That would make me sad. But, Tulip's going through some stuff, so...
Wait. In season 2, when we meet Tulip's husband, wasn't there an old friend of hers tied into that?
There was.
Was that Danny, maybe? Maybe that's where we meet Danny? The faces. Okay. Fuck it.
We are professional podcasters.
Write an email if you understand what's been happening for the last 3 minutes. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So they go see Danny, old friend, I guess, and it starts with her explaining to Cassidy the Jewish traditional headwear, the P's and Q's and the histories and whatnot. And then, but basically, they're looking. They want something from her. The show is being vague about it, being around the bush until we get to it. But I kind of saw it coming. I don't know about you. Tulip wants something. Danny wants something in return. We cut to a diner with Tulip and Cassidy. Next scene, it's a little later. I think Cassidy's finishing a pastrami sandwich, but I can't say for sure. It could have been corned beef. It's possible.
It's a good choice if it was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It looked like some kind of pinkish red on rye. I think there might have been mustard on the plate. As a lover of pastrami sandwiches, maybe a little obsessive, I just felt the need to call it out.
So things that you did a deep dive on this week, the crawl on that TV program and Cassidy's sandwich condiments. Got it.
And the fact that there was only like one bite left of that sandwich, and I was looking at it like, what might that be? What might that be? That's got to be pastrami, right? They're in like a Jewish deli, first of all. Yeah. Okay. So, but basically, they have a little exchange. Cassidy says that he'll do it. And Tulip's a little unsure. She gets up to leave and like just wantonly shoots this guy that was like sitting right behind them. Don't really see it coming. We cut to commercial. And all I'm thinking is, what a fucking psychopath. Like, just...
I did not. I was a little concerned that we were, showing a version of Tulip that I would have a hard time getting on board with.
Me too.
I guess. What it turned out to be is slightly better. I mean, it's still murder, but
it was murder by assignment.
At least it wasn't random.
Yes, yeah, because that's what got me too. I'm like, did she just randomly shoot this guy? And like, that's just like, it felt like season 1 or season 2 kind of a thing Tulip would do, where she was like this impetuous, reflexive type person.
The season when I just kept being a Tulip apologist and was just like, listen, I know she can be better. And then they made her better in season 3. So yeah, I was glad we didn't have a reversion to that.
Me too. So she shoots that guy, and then we cut to Humperdoo and Jesus having a little hug.
And a little more.
And well, Humperdoo gets excited. As one is as you can understand. It's relatable,
All right, listen. I don't know how closely you've been listening to the Preacher segments in the DC TV report. I find this Jesus uncomfortably hot. He is uncomfortably attractive. I feel weird about it.
Yeah.
So, like, Humperdoo, I get you, baby. I get it.
That perfect kind of 1/8 inch beard goes a long way for a guy. Like,
That's what I'm saying.
Because without that, I've seen this guy. And he's okay.
The beard elevates it?
Yes, yes. I mean, I'm not one here to judge other men, but when we're talking about looks, I will dissect anybody if you ask me. All right. So they have this weird hug thing. Hitler plays a tune to kind of show that this guy's not Humperdoo, because this guy doesn't dance. So Hitler shoots him. And Jesus is like, Jesus Christ! And I thought there'd be a little bit more on that, but you didn't need any more. I thought there'd be a little bit more on that joke, but that's all you need. And then, Hitler tells him, well, the real one is out there, but we've got you. Why would we need a Humperdoo? We have the original, so it's a fair point. It's something I kind of wondered.
Well argued.
In the book, they don't bring in Jesus at all. And
also, Humperdoo is blissfully short in the book. This is way more Humperdoo than I personally needed in this show.
Yes. Yeah, that's the other thing, too. Like, the Humperdoo kind of thing just kind of is done at an early point. And, this show has kind of made it a central thing. As it's done with a lot of things that were not... Or the few things that were not really long form. But anyway, we cut to Danny on the phone. She's like, okay, yeah, all right. Oh, okay. Turns out Tulip killed her husband. That was what she asked. But, she really didn't think she was going to do it. I mean, like, I've been asking you for like 10 years to kill that dude, and you never did it. And I can't come through on my end now, and which is not cool.
Yeah. Well, it's a good lesson on, like, don't cry wolf. Don't ask somebody to kill your husband unless you really are committed to the killing husband plan.
And not only that, but, like, you haven't seen this woman in years, and now she's back, and she's like, okay, I'll do that for you. This is the time to probably finally believe
You're like, we've been seeing a couples therapist. We're doing a little better.
Well, I just mean, like, it's one thing if all those times, like, you didn't think she was ever going to do it, but now you haven't seen her in a while. She comes up out of nowhere, desperate, and is like, okay, I'll go kill him. Like, now is the time you actually do believe she'll do it. Like, you know what I mean? Wow. Like, now is the time. Yeah. I think Danny was just like, you know what? She's going to go kill my husband, but I'm not giving her fucking Humperdoo. Win-win for me. It was just kind of selfish, if you ask me. She knew she wasn't going to come through on her end. Turning my page in the notes. Got 2 pages of notes this week.
Dang.
Yeah. Well, when I'm by myself, I take better notes. Ed was here last time. We were both watching it at the same time. My notes were much more truncated. I felt like something was missing from the show.
Was this before or after you did the James Bond? Do you bundle those two activities?
Sometimes, yes. And I forget if we did both of them. The whole 17-hour experience, it gets, it's a little blurry. I don't remember really.
As most time with that is.
Oh my gosh. We're back to Fiora and Jesse. Still trying to talk Jesse into taking the seat. This is where he's like, oh, I'm a bad dude. And he's like, oh, you're not that bad. And he's like, no, I'm pretty bad. And
no, really.
No, really. I know sins pretty well. I know the list. It turns out he's actually in a hell cell that we haven't seen in a while.
Listen, we built those hell sets. We're going to get good use out of those hell sets.
We got another one. We got one of these lights laying around still. I think we can spin it and get it going. So let's use it. It's just a room, which is a nice little twist because didn't kind of see that coming. But I was like, okay, all right, that was a cool little turn. But we jump then real quick to Tulip and Cassidy. They're outside a synagogue with Danny, and just kind of give her the lowdown that like, yeah, Jesse's dead, and that's why I think we did see her previously. Now that I think about it more, is that she's in the loop on some level. We must have ran into her in season 2, and I'm just not recalling it very clearly. And then we jump over to Hoover 2, who now is delivering those coffees to Jesus and Hitler, who seem to have had their little falling out as Jesus is leaving. And then Hitler's coffee, just right, 2 sugars.
But he's kind of a dick about it.
Who, Hitler?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his thing. He's a dick about everything. That's now that I think about it, like, even when he was working in that Subway shop, he was like, just the way he answers people, the way he talks to people, it's not nice.
Fact check.
Fair enough.
We have seen Danny before. She was mentioned in season 1. We see her in season 1, and she was mentioned, or she's in a flashback in season 2. So she is the crime boss who organizes things for them. Does that sound familiar? They meet her on a park bench or some such.
Right.
Now, I'm remembering this now.
She's the one who hands her the blueprints.
Yep.
That's the first time we see the Grail mentioned at all, and it's actually Grail Industries.
Yes. And at the time of recording on the Preacher fandom Wikipedia, her status is listed as alive. So, I feel like, I don't know, I kind of felt like Tulip was going to go back, and so that's, good.
Good. Keep that page open. I feel like...
Yeah, I know. I kind of want to watch it. I don't know if that's the last we're going to see of Danny, because I feel like she's going to be coming after Humperdinck, but maybe not.
Well, it's possible. I guess it's possible. Because who knows with these guys? They only got 3 episodes, and they're doing whatever the fuck they want.
They might spend a whole episode on Danny, like Danny's backstory. Danny as a child. That'll be episode 9. Surprise, motherfuckers.
Danny. That's the spinoff. All right. So we'll go back to the synagogue. They're inside. They're going. She's taking them in there. They get down the hall, and we find Humperdinck. Big surprise, no surprise, kind of, but he's eating glue, as seems fitting. And Danny kind of explains that he changed, him being real changed us, like it changed things. They all became Jews for Jesus, is basically kind of what happened. So she plays the piano and he does the dance, so it's the real Humperdinck.
That's how you know.
This is the check system that we have for Humperdinck. Jesse and Tulip are like, Cassidy and Tulip are like, well, we're taking them out. So they start leaving. The congregation, as they're passing through, I wasn't sure what else to call them. I'm not sure if in the Jewish faith there's a name besides congregation for the group of people that are there for services. But I'm just going to say congregation. Tries to stop them. Basically, it's a lot of hands reaching out and pawing. They separate them. Humperdinck does some floating, and that kind of gets everybody like, oh, shit. And then that's enough of a distraction where Humperdinck is like, okay, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm going with you guys. Takes Tulip's hand, and she walks him out.
And you hear his little tap shoes to tap all the way out, which was great.
Cassidy kind of like stays back for a second and tells them a story of Betsy Collins, who lost 6 sons, if I have it right, and a husband, and still loved God. And because God is such a dick in that way, he really loves this Humperdoo guy. So we're going to kill Humperdoo in front of God. And then, so now we get to know what their plan is, or what they're trying to do anyway. And it's an interesting stroke, because it still doesn't, like, all right, you got Humperdoo. Congratulations. How are you finding God now? You know? How how you knew to go to Danny, now that I think about it, and that she, oh, right. Oh, I was going to say maybe in the letter, Jesse says, I left Humperdoo with, no, that doesn't work either, because Cassidy would have said.
Already had read it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wondered if that was a conversation that did we miss it? Did I don't remember hearing Jesse tell Tulip. I don't remember Jesse and Tulip speaking to each other at all this season, honestly. So.
Well, they said hey. They said hey to each other on the plane, I think. She was busy flying. They really couldn't have the big emotional hug.
I mean, you want your pilot to not be, hugging.
Or crashing. It's a tough call. So anyway, we cut to Pensacola, Florida. For an interesting scene where a local cop gets a call from a detective who was undercover on assignment. It turns out it's Hoover 2 this whole time.
Hoover 2!
And thus ending his storyline, and we can kill him.
Yes.
It's like, that's the thing. Like, oh, we've done a reveal on him, and we have no time. Kill him. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was one of these things where it's like reverse engineering on that is kind of like them going, okay, well, she's going to have to kill this guy because he's kind of in her slot. So when she does, we should have something interesting happen.
Yeah.
And I don't recall if the cop's name was Williams or Wilkins or something. If he's supposed to be a throwback to some of these earlier cops that they dealt with in the book series earlier. I feel like there's at least 2 African-American cops who were at different times maybe in the storyline who were like kind of like city cops like that. I don't remember offhand.
Pensacola was random enough that it made me wonder if there was some...
Yeah, I didn't know where it was going to go, to be honest with you. I'm like, who we fucking bringing in now? We got no time for anybody new. Pensacola? I had to look up Pensacola. I couldn't remember where the hell Pensacola... I'm like, is that Florida? I actually looked it up. I was like, I kind of forgot. I was like, I couldn't remember any other... It didn't sound like right for any other state, but I was like Florida, right? Yeah. Okay, enough insight into my stupidity. So he calls his... this is the undercover guy calling in to his chief, telling him, it's all good. I figured it all out. There's a conspiracy. It's heaven and hell. He tells him everything, really, but then gets shot. And we go to commercial. We come back. Tulip and Cassidy are just kind of taking Humperdoo through the countryside. Mm-hmm. Taking some back roads. We cut back to Jesse in the hell cell. He's kind of been reliving his sins a little bit. We hear the younger child Jesse, doing the whole thing when his daddy got shot, which is always fun, good times. Fiora returns, sure. So this whole scenario is not real, but the offer is real. We do want you to take the seat. And Jesse's still like, no. And so Fiora's like, okay, let me show you something. And so it's like a rewind to Heaven 2015. That's what he says. And we see God is checking his messages or prayers, kind of bored as could possibly be.
Super bored.
Super bored. So done. Just so done. Fiora enters, tells him that Genesis has escaped. And God's like, oh yeah? And he gets a little nervous. Fiora is like, all right, I'm going to go. We're on it. We're on top of it. and as soon as he turns his back to leave, God shoots up through the roof and is out of here. And then, and then we get Holiday Road from National Lampoon starts creeping in the background, and we get this little montage of God on his motorcycle, having his like, "Hey, I'm living life. I'm on the road. I got my motorcycle. I've got a different chick. I got at least 3 different chicks I cycle through in this montage." This is a cool scene where I'm just walking down the street and I see this guy. I walk past this beggar on the street. He's got his cup out, and I stop. He stops, and he's like, he turns around, walks right past him again, and sees the dog costume in the window. So
that's how it began.
So I can't wait to hear Ed who regale about the origin finally for the dog costume over on the DC.
I expect that to be a solid 20 minutes of the podcast this week.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, it was funny. It was a cute little montagey thing. Again, though, it's a show where, like, I don't know, just feels like time would be better spent. Although that's, like, a better scene, I think, overall than the time waster of the other scene we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I'm not sure it told us anything we didn't already know about God and what he's doing, although I think probably the Genesis has escaped origin of God being like, I'm out. That was useful, but then of course he's doing a walkabout. Like, we knew that. We saw that. We had that.
We already kind of, We go back to Jesse and Fior for the last scene, which is really just comes down to, here's what's going on. Here's what the plan is. God is working on a new species. It was angels, then it was humans. Now it's going to be them. God's plan, part 3, more or less, I think is what he says. And it's basically to replace us. So this puts into context for Jesse, what's God up to now? We see this weird little kind of montage scene where, like, I don't know, he's got an angel wing. He's doing some real weird taxidermy, I think.
Yeah, it looked kind of painful for whatever he was working on.
Yeah, I felt like
that seemed to still be actively bleeding.
Yeah,
so
I thought it was like a regular angel wing, and then I kind of know that there was like a colorful, like a toucan kind of color scheme wing. I don't know. It was very strange. It was very quick, but he's building it from scratch, I guess, is what it comes down to. But that's what's going on, and then we cut to credits. So there it is. There's another episode of Preacher.
Yeah, that's what we got for you.
So, I guess at this point, what we kind of normally do is we kind of start like looking forward a little bit and saying stuff like, out of all the things that are left in the books that were not used yet, is there time to bring in anything, even in a truncated way? Some of the biggest stuff that happens in the book, when it happens on the show, it ends up being these tiny things, or it ends up getting retconned and reworked so much it's hardly even the spirit of the original idea.
Well, and I feel like the nuclear bomb is actually a good example when I joked about it not actually having any effect. Like, that was a huge, huge thing that happened in the book, and this was just not an afterthought, but kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, in the book, when it happens, it's a way that we just kind of see like this, the lengths that Herr Starr will go to, the obsessive nature of him. We learn that even a nuclear bomb won't stop the Santa killers. It's how Jesse falls out of the plane, so that holds true. But ultimately, like, it's got broader ramifications. I will say that last week, Ed was like, or last time, or even in private, Ed was like, oh, man, I don't think we're going to get to see the Chunt brothers. But when Herr Starr was on the ground after the Dingo Dong scene, I forgot to mention that there is like these two shadows that walk up on him. We don't see who it is. But I do remember the one shadow kind of implying like he's dressed oddly or, like got some weird, wacky kind of outfit or something. Something peculiar about the outline, the silhouette.
Honestly, for a second, I thought it was the Saint of Killers, and that would be an economical way to get a couple more characters together to do things. But I think the Saint would cast a bigger, like physically a bigger shadow, wouldn't he? Mm-hmm. They make him such a big, imposing figure that I can't imagine that the shadow falling on Hair Star would be. So yeah, if they want to give us that storyline, cool. That's a weird.
It's a weird way to
weird storyline.
Yeah.
But it's Hair Star, and he's a.
Yeah, and I think I could imagine them kind of saying, well, it keeps him off of the story map for about an episode or so if he's holed up with these whack jobs who, if we're going to just try to wrap up Hair Star in a way where it's like he will continue to be the punching bag that he is in the books, and at the very least, that's kind of what we'll do with him as we run out the clock a little bit or get some of it. Okay, hey, I'm cool with that. If that's where he ends up, is with the Chunt brothers and they take his leg. Spoilers. If they, if they end up chewing up his leg, cool. Like, what I mean? Like I was surprised we got the dingoes eating his dick because didn't think that was going to happen either. But I think Ed will be pleasantly surprised because that was the thing he threw out, as I've been asking the guests here, what's something from the book you haven't seen yet that you'd love to see or hope to get. So I'm going to throw that question to you, Ms. Netzley, lady of the House of Netzley.
First lady, first of her name.
First of her name.
For me, it's twofold. One is I continue to mourn the Jesse Tulip relationship that we didn't get. Yeah. And there is no way to fix that at this point. No. Those characters are so disconnected, and it's not the Till the End of the World that I loved so much from the book. So that forever will be a disappointment to me that we didn't get to see the kiss in front of the fire. So
yeah.
That's not going to happen. That ship has sailed. Now, the thing we actually almost maybe possibly could see that I'd like to see is the Genesis origin story.
Yeah, I thought I felt like we were getting close.
We were so close. We were tiptoeing to it with that angel in the cell with Cass, and I thought for sure the angel would be like trussed up and spin his tail.
Yeah.
And then we see the demon lover, and nothing, no joy. So they could do it. There's time to tell that story. It wouldn't take a long time. They had the characters, but I don't think they're gonna because we're past that point in the narrative. So I would love to have, and interestingly, both of those things are romancy related. That is very on brand for me as I think about it. Yeah. Yeah. And I also think I want punishment for this god more than I wanted punishment for comic book god.
Yeah.
But, if they want to dole out some god punishing, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, right? In the book, like, God, as much as he's the embodiment of the hypocritical type of God, he still is like this all-powerful. We don't see him as much. We don't interact with him. So he's got this air of, like, when they do turn the tables on him, it doesn't ever seem like it's like a possibility, whereas in the show, it does feel like a possibility. It feels like, we'll figure out a way to get around this guy. He's kind of like a clown too. Like, he doesn't instill the almighty fear.
Yeah, he's kind of a petty little bitch. I mean, like,
that's kind of how they painted him, where, like, but he's also fallible. Yeah. Like, if he easily feels fallible, as opposed to the book one, even for all his blowhardness, that's how they wanted you to see it, that it's a lot of pomposity and shit like that, he still didn't feel fallible in a way. He still felt, omnipresent and all-knowing and shit, and I don't know. It just didn't feel as easy to get over on, as the show one does. Yeah.
So, I guess those are my answers, is I would like a happy till the end of the world ending for Jesse and Tulip, and I'd like to see Genesis's origin. I don't know. Am I at this point? What is there left? I mean, we're not going to see the Eugene stuff. I don't think. I'm fine not seeing the Rockstar stuff for the record.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And I'm not sure if they're going to give him that happy ending that he got in the books with the
one-eyed girl.
Girl. I don't know. I don't know how you close out Eugene's storyline, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know, and it's a good question of like, he's been off the grid a little bit right now, so it's like, are we going to touch base with him? And when we do, like, what will that be like? I'm still gonna stick with the conversation I had with Stephanie, where I don't remember if it was her or me, but the idea arose where it's like, what if that morphed into something more current? And it's like him on like a America's Got Talent type thing, or some media sensation thing. Because that's kind of like the idea in the book, is that he gets catapulted to stardom and then it collapses. So if we just kind of saw some kind of play on that a little bit, that'd be great. Like, even if it's just a scene where, like, near the finale, like the three of them are in somewhere where there's a TV, and it's just like, oh my God, it's Eugene.
Yeah,
and like,
the 2019 version is like the viral YouTube sensation or something like that. Like, that's how you know.
Right. And him hit some kind of stardom or something. I mean, I wouldn't mind him having some kind of like hopeful uptick in his storyline. But he's definitely off the grid. So I guess we're gonna get some more of him somehow. But
who knows?
Who knows? I will say that. I guess we're not going to get any salvation, any of Jesse as a sheriff. We're probably not going to get his mom popping up, although I am on the lookout for any one-armed ladies. I don't mean slot machines, and that's not a euphemism either. So, people, like, don't be dirty. And I think...
angry tweets go to @WickedFury.
Yeah, I guess that's probably means it's time to wrap it up a little bit once I start running out of jokes. But yeah, it's a hard call because the stuff I really want to see doesn't seem like it's going to happen at all. There's just no time. They're going to have to spend so much time just kind of wrapping up what they've set up now.
Yeah. Yeah, I could have used less time with Hitler and Humperdew and more time with, like you said, that Jesse Sheriff mom. That's where Eugene meets his lady also, isn't it, in that town?
I think so.
That's my memory. Also, did we get the dog? Did we get Jesse's dog ever?
No, I mean, that's when he's the sheriff, because it's him, the dog, and his deputy, really, against the town, against Quincannon.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. We kind of had Quincannon already.
Yeah.
So it's just
Season 5.
Choices were made.
We're going to have to wait for season 5, I think is what it is. In season 5, it'll turn out season 4 was all a dream, and we'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Everything from season 1. Everything.
I was going to say, season 4 only, or can we...
Can we roll that back further? All right.
So the revelation I had with Ed last week was I get really frustrated with Arrow fans who are Oliver, Black Canary are meant to be together forever, who can't understand that the show is the show and the comics are the comics. And I realized I was being that guy. So I just have to kind of let go.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely that kind of balance for sure. But
I haven't had a hard time with that until this season for some reason. Mm-hmm. I've been frustrated before, but this season, the one I'm just like, God, how hard is it? Just use the blueprints.
I mean, well, that's the thing. I think the thing is that they set so much stuff into motion, in season 3 that they thought maybe, hey, in a best case scenario, we'll go 5 or 6. And then it was like, well, we're going to do one more run. So how do you truncate what you've already set up and then still squeeze in what you can that doesn't feel like clunky? I mean, the fact that they've managed to make so much kind of a line in this jumbled up way, I mean, we're in Australia, and the desert stuff, and I thought they were going to make Australia be the Alamo too. I thought, are we going to get the Alamo stuff? Who knows? Who fucking knows?
That's kind of where I am. Like, how do you predict? We'll see what they give us in the next 3 episodes and be grateful for it or bitch about it, whatever.
Well, that's going to wrap it up, I think, for us.
Good.
I'm going to cue up the music. I'm trying to hold out past the opening because there's an opening little part. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, a big thanks to Sarah Netzley. for coming on the show. You can find her on the DC TV Report. That is a show that she does with Ed O'Hare, who you've heard here. They recap and give you news for all the live-action DC TV shows that you probably watch or should be watching. And if you're not watching, you can just get recaps from them. They put time codes in the episode description so you can skip past stuff that you're really not into. And it's all done in one episode per week, so that you don't have 25 things to try and track all at once. It's an hour and a half, maybe, I think, on average. And
we came in at like 40 minutes this week. Incredible.
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, there was only 2 shows. Now, like in 3 weeks,
we were still really proud.
3 weeks from now, you're gonna have like 8 shows. Oh, good times, good times. Titans came back. Titans was great.
Yeah,
well,
Titans was great.
Well, it was weird, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, it was Titans great. It was great for Titans.
It was a good way to. It's a fair season starter. We'll leave it at that. You can hear them talk about that and more. Just go check them out, and that's our sister show. So we keep in the family, like that. So, folks, that's it for this week. You can send us an email, preacher, PvP at wickedtheory.com. And that's going to do it for now, or until the end of the series, until the end of the world. That's it. That's all I got.